Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everybody. Yes, hello, hello.
Hello. So, if you've been listening to us for a while now, you have heard us banging on about one concept presentations. We are huge sticklers for the one concept presentation. We love the one concept approach. It is what we believe is the only option.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And it didn't come straight away in my career, and we'll get to that in a little bit. It did come immediately for Chris because she went straight from uni into her career. But we want to talk about this because the influences that are out there may not be right for you. So we want to talk about where are you getting your influences from, and we hope to make a big change to the industry by talking about this and getting everybody to talk about this. It's really important that we have this conversation.
Yeah. And we were actually asked to unpack this a little bit more by somebody, a designer, a beautiful designer who we love and respect so much, who has been struggling with this. This person is a really talented designer and they have often presented many concepts. And we adore this person and they were like, okay, I get it. I get it. I can do it. I see, I've got the system for it and all that sort of thing. But how do I actually do it? How do I
Yeah.
convince them, the client, that it's actually okay? How do I convince the client that this is actually the best way forward? So there's a bit of
Yeah.
insecurity there
Yeah,
around
well,
it.
before you ponder Christine's questions, we want you to take a really important step or just a little bit of a paradigm shift because there's a plot twist. And beautiful
Mm.
designers, this is it. The person that you need to convince is you.
Yep.
First and foremost, you have to be the one that is comfortable and okay and really, really sure that one concept is the way to go. Because when you believe it and you own it, so will your clients. So
Yeah.
get to convincing yourself first.
Yeah. If you convince yourself and
Yeah.
wholeheartedly embrace it with that energy of totally being on board with it, you won't need to convince your clients at all.
No,
Truly.
they'll just be like, this is the way it's done with this designer. This is the way you work. And it's like, okay, that's what I can expect. That's what I'm going to get. Great. Yeah.
We've never made a big issue of it. So the question that we were asked is, well, how do you sell the idea? How do you bring it up? How do you get them on board? And we've never made a big deal about it. That, I think, is the difference. We have talked to them about our process. We've never made a big deal of, you're only getting one. Sorry. You're
Yeah.
just getting one. Yeah.
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because once you do make a big deal out of it, they latch on to that. So definitely
Mm.
don't make a big deal out of it. There will be times when people actually outright ask you for more. There will be times when they say in the briefing process, I'd like to see 2 to 3 concepts. And then you will have to address it and say, my process means that I deliver you one kick-ass, powerful concept, and this is my process and this is how it works, and you'll only need one. So you speak to it when it comes up, but when you're talking about your process, you're talking about your process, and you're not highlighting that at the end it's a single element. You're highlighting the process that helps you to arrive at that beautiful, powerful, the one. We want the one, don't we? And the energy that goes into that can only really happen once. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to afford us.
Yeah, I
Would
mean,
be that level of energy into multiple logos. There's going to be a favorite amongst the multiples that you're delivering to them. You're going to have a gut feel that is the one
yeah,
right there. That's the one. So
yeah,
really, why go through it when you know there's already an answer right there?
yeah. For many years, I didn't even know that other designers presented multiple concepts. We were lucky enough, we must have had some lecturers who advised us to do the one. Something must have happened, but we were very strong on this opinion from the
That was
beginning.
me, Chris.
We were very arrogant. It would have been Donna. Yeah.
It was me because I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I was adamant to get this message to the students, design students of the world, because myself and my other 2 directors, my partners at the time in our first business, we all first started out in other agencies, in advertising agencies and design business, in design firms in Sydney and whatnot. And that was the way for the majority of these businesses. So what we did was we took that bad habit into our own business And we realized really quickly as business owners, this is not sustainable. When we were working for other people and we were coming up with multiple concepts, we were on a wage. So it didn't matter what we got done during the day. We just did what we did through the day and we got our weekly wage. When we became business owners, we were very, very clear about the waste of time it is to present 3 logos. We were like, what, who would do this? This is such a waste of time. And so I became really passionate about that. So I'm sure I would have gone to you in your honours year at uni, Chris, going, now, there only needs to be one. It only needs to be that one that you absolutely intuitively feel is right, because the time, the effort, the research, the development, all of that, you cannot do that multiple times in a business and for that to be a financially sound decision for you. And also not great for the client, because there are going to be 1 or 2 of those multiple solutions that are completely diluted, that aren't right. And what if they choose it? You're then delivering not the one, not the right answer. So it's risky, it's not financially viable. And for me, it wasn't allowing me to be really passionate about one solution that I knew was right. So anyway, it took us a while. We actually did do multiple deliveries of logos, and we learnt that it is not sustainable. So I got on my soapbox pretty quickly and made sure I told as many people as possible, don't be doing that. That's not right.
I mean, how can you be sure that you're offering the solution? How can you be sure when you're doing 3 solutions? How can you really sell it? It sort of did my head in. Like, I was hearing about people doing multiple solutions, and that's the first thing I thought. But how do you know it's the solution? I want to make sure it's that's what they're paying me for, to come up with this beautifully crafted, succinct, conceptual, strategic solution that answers the brief and is the way forward. And so if you offer like 3 is just an arbitrary number. It's, pluck it out of the air kind of number. If you offer multiple, like if they're fully refined, fully finessed, how could that be financially sustainable, as you were talking about, Don? Unless they've got a massive, massive budget. Like, they would have to have a really big budget, because it's really the work times 3, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we have done that when we shifted to the single concept process. We actually were approached by a bigger company who said, we want to see 3. And we actually said, in order for you to see 3 fully resolved, fully researched, fully developed concepts, then we will need to charge accordingly. And they were like, yep, we're okay with that. So we were like, yep, we're okay with that. So it was okay, but we needed to discuss the fact that that is the job times 3. And it really was. So, it's really important that you understand the value of what you're delivering your clients when you're delivering multiple logo designs. It is really important that you understand how much value you've just given away right there.
Yeah, I might just clarify for people who are new to listening. And hello, everybody. Welcome if you're new to listening to the podcast. If you don't know our story, Donna and I met when I was in my final year of uni, and she was my lecturer. And that's how we first met. So that's why Donna was the person who told me to do one concept. It's just brilliant. It's so funny that I'm only just figuring this out right now. Like, hello. Anyway.
Which is gold, because what was beautiful about that as well, Chris, is that you started your business straight out of uni. You hit the ground running, and you didn't have that bad habit. You didn't have to break that bad habit, which is sadly what happened to my partners and myself. We went out into other jobs and we learned all their bad habits. And when we got into our own business, we sort of had to work out, the company you were working for was doing it this way, they were doing it that way. That doesn't make sense. That makes sense. And we sort of had to cherry pick the best of these businesses to create our own. So I'm so chuffed that I managed to get that through to you before you started your business, and you didn't have to go through that rubbish of doing multiple concepts.
Yeah, and you spoke to being asked to do multiple concepts, and that has been such a rare experience for me, and I'm wondering why that is. Maybe it's just the energy we carried across about it. Maybe it was speaking to our process. You get the one concept. Maybe it was always spoken about in our proposals. My business partner at the time in my first business had a very logical mind, and she was very good at like breaking down everything. So it would have been on our proposal from the get-go, I can imagine. And honestly, people didn't question it.
Yeah.
I just can't even remember even having to have that conversation. Or if we did, we'd be just
You
like, well,
would
that's
have.
just the way we work. That's just the way we work.
Exactly. And you would have believed it. You would have believed
Mm.
it to be correct. You would have been confident in it. You weren't doing multiple concepts before, so you didn't know what that was like.
Yeah,
You didn't know what it was like to present three and then, oh no, all of a sudden I'm only presenting one. Oh my goodness. So
exactly.
you didn't have that bad habit to break. And unfortunately, there's a lot of us out there who have to break that habit or belief. It's a limiting belief that that's what's expected. It only takes one. And it's the one that you have fully resolved. And you just have to believe that. So, again, coming back to our little plot twist, the only person that you have to convince about the one concept process is you. And that beautiful confidence that you just spoke of, Chris, that was real. That was raw confidence because you did not know any other way. You were going forward. This is the way. This is how it's done. If you're out there right now cringing because you presented 6 concepts last week to a client, or 3 or 2 or whatever, it's never too late. It's
Yes.
never too late. It's now time to refine that process, rein it in, take your power back, and just make sure your process speaks to that and demonstrates the power of just one concept in delivery.
And please don't feel bad if you have been doing this approach for many, many years, because we've come
I
across
did.
many designers who have been doing it for
Yeah.
many, many years. But it
Yeah.
really is, it's a self-confidence issue. It's a mindset issue.
Yeah.
You've got to get on board, 100% on board, because once you embrace it, your clients
Yeah.
will embrace it. Like it just becomes a non-negotiable. It's like if you want this high quality design experience, if you want this high quality design service, this is the way I work. People will respect that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got this. That's it. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
The single most important benefit of working this way is they will have you completely focused on that single outcome, and it will be a kick-ass result. That's the
Yeah.
benefit. And the
Yeah.
benefit for you is laser focused time efficiency in your business, meaning you can do more of these beautiful things for more beautiful clients and grow your business. So it's a win-win for everybody. So be
Yeah.
confident, you've got this.
Yeah. It can work. And we'll say it again. For it to work, you need to have an unshakable belief that this is
Yes.
the right way. And perhaps your systems aren't set up for it like that. We teach this process in the academy, how to present a one concept solution, because it's a multifaceted approach. There's so many steps that lead to this. And this is why it was a bit of a head scratcher for me when I heard people were doing multiple approaches and multiple solutions, because I was like, I don't even know how that works as part of a process. This has never been part of my process because it's so thorough and it's geared towards this one direction. Of course, we have multiple solutions at the beginning. Of course, in this beautiful brainstorming process, there's many solutions that are coming to the surface, but it's our job as a designer to refine and come up with that solution that meets the brief. And then use the language. We love to use design poetry, we call it, that beautiful language of design to sell the concept to the client. And it's all in those steps. It's the briefing, it's the conceptual development, it's the creation of original ideas, and then it is in the selling of the solution, explaining the solution to the client with a very detailed rationale.
That's right. And you can't do that multiple times. It's exhausting. If your
No.
process is as thorough as the one that we teach in the academy, you will be exhausted to do that multiple times for one client and not be paid for it. It's perfectly fine to do it multiple times with being paid for it because that's different. There's a different energy that comes with that. So be mindful of that.
All right. You've got this.
Yeah,
You've got to trust yourself.
you sure have.
You
Yeah.
can do it. You can do one
Yes.
concept. We know you can because we're evidence.
Let us know. I'd love to hear from you if you are, and again, no judgment. I was one of those people doing multiple concepts. When I became the business owner and was no longer the employee, I started scratching my head about this going, this is crazy, the amount of effort and work that's going into this. And I knew there had to be a better solution. So let me know. I was one of you. I was
Yeah.
doing multiple concepts. when I realized that this was okay and it was just self-belief and mindset thing to change it around to the single concept, I'd have never looked back. And I'd love to hear from you if you have been that way and you have started doing the single concept, or if you'd like to give it a go and you do it soon down the track. Whenever you hear this, let us know. Let us know how that first time went for you. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, send us a DM via our Instagram. Just search for Design and Prosper and you'll find us. Or send us an email. You can send an email to team@designandprosper.co, and we'd love to hear from you. But I really am interested in that, Don. Do you remember any point in time where it was still a bit of a challenge? Like there was a bit of a, ooh, will they accept this one concept? Because you had to transition.
Yes, I had to transition. It was literally every time for the next half a dozen because we'd been in the industry a long time, remember, and we'd all been asked to do multiple solutions, not just for logos, for a lot of things. We had to come up with multiple solutions. So we found out very, very quickly that the process of making the decisions and distilling it down to the single most important one was really quick at brainstorming stage. But when you're dealing with a big business and you're going from the creative team to maybe an admin team to a marketing team, there's a lot more people that have to have their say on what's going on. So multiple options almost met the egos of all those people, whereas we were able to look at it and we knew what the solution was at sketch stage, like at our brainstorm thumbnail stage. So it did take a little while because we felt like that was the expectation in the industry. But then once we were not questioned, because our process was so thorough and what we were delivering was so concise. And in the academy, Chris and I teach a combination of both our processes. We've basically combined them and elevated it. So you've got this amazing process that we share in the academy. But essentially, when people didn't even blink, that's when we started to get really comfortable with it. But when we were asked, can you do 2 or 3? It triggered us. We'd get triggered. It'd be like, oh, here we are. We're here again. Oh my goodness, we're here again. Oh, what are we doing here? You know? And then we'd have to speak to our process. We'd have to be confident. We'd have to stand our ground. We'd have to be prepared for them to say, see you later. We want 3, so see you later. But once you start speaking with that level of confidence, it's really undeniable that you will create the solution that they're looking for. So you just have to stand your ground, which takes oodles of courage, you know, especially when you're young or new to business and your business is fairly fledgling. It does take a lot of courage to go, I'm going to stand my ground on this one. That's why I want industry worldwide. Let's get on board with this, people. Let's get on board, designers. Let's do this single concept everywhere, so there is no expectation of doing it again and again and again.
It triggers that not enoughness, because it's like, well, if I present one concept, it's not enough, is it? It's like, oh, they're paying me a good amount of money and it doesn't feel like it's enough. So it's really important to be very certain that it absolutely is enough. But that's very interesting, that it could take a little bit of time. So be gentle with yourself to get to that confident place. Just keep on. It's a practice. Keep on practicing with it. It is. You probably won't go in with it with the completely ignorant arrogance that I went into business with, which was actually a good thing in hindsight.
I love it, Chris. I always say how lucky you were not to, and on multiple things. I've just had a beautiful family of birds arrive at my window, so sorry if you heard that. I love that you did not have to unlearn bad habits of others. That is something that did take time in our businesses, especially when we came together and we were seeing our businesses as CEOs rather than the employee. Okay, that business that I was working at did that so well. Let's have a little bit of that. I can't believe we were doing it that way there. No, let's not do that ever again. And so we really had to work out what was right for us. So the way that you did, I wouldn't say it's ignorant at all. It was intuitive and gold. And you were very blessed not to have any bad habits to break. So kudos to you.
Thanks, Don. We've actually done a whole episode on the one concept approach. So it's episode 8. It is one of our earlier episodes. It's called Why Graphic Designers Should Only Present One Concept. So check it out if you want to unpack this even more. because there's
Yes.
lots of benefits. We talk about the benefits of the one concept approach in that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you've got this. Remember, courage.
You got it.
Yeah, be confident. You will be right. You will be taken seriously if you are presenting one concept. You can do this.
You can. All right.
Okay. All right.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.